Make sure my Wi-Fi turned off. Guys, we got a lot to unpack. Let me make sure my camera is straight. Hold on. We got a lot to unpack, man. Guys, I had one crazy state of affairs. I'm not even going to call this a circumstance, guys. We had an existing maintenance customer that's been with us for like, what, at least 4 or 5 years. And we had a very crazy scenario that happened. Let me roll my window up so this noise don't get in the way. But yeah, guys, but I'm gonna wait until a few of y'all get in here. And by the way, I don't want y'all clocking my routine, but Monday through Thursday I meal prep. So like, it's usually chicken breast, and it's like I drink water. I don't drink any sodas or any juices like that at the crib throughout Monday through Thursday. But Friday through Sunday, I remix and I do what I can. But real quick, guys, I had, like I said, for you guys just getting in here, we got to talk about this, guys. Like, I'll tell you right now, like, you know, I always advocate for, like I said, keeping it straight down the middle. You know, I'm not pro customer, I'm not pro HVAC. Like I said, I don't know. The only thing I know is the demographic as far as what age and what country you guys are in. If most of you guys are in the trade, assuming you guys are, otherwise you might not know what I'm talking about. But I'm assuming at least like 95% of y'all are in the HVAC trade or in the trades in general, for that matter, you know, by you guys taking interest in my content. But I know some of you guys are probably not in the trade. You know, maybe you look at my content for information, and that's cool. But I say that to say this, you know, I make content for everybody. You know, I don't make content just for experienced guys, and I don't make content just for, like I said, you know, just for new guys. I always try to keep everything like relative, and, you know, I simplify everything, you know, the best way I can. But guys, I got to keep it a bean, especially for you business owners out there. You'll know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. And guys, you got to look at it one way or another. You know, we're all kin, we're all a community. We all do the same stuff, and we face the same obstacles every day. You know, some guys may not talk about it. Some guys, like I said, you know, may lie about it, guys. Like I said, I've seen so much that, like, it is what it is, you know, like, and I'm not, me, I mentioned this before, guys, in other GMC Talks. I don't talk about my problems, like, to complain, but everything I've been through, guys, like, and it took me getting to, you know, a certain level to understand. Every situation I've been through, it was an opportunity for me to learn from it, you know, because that is really nothing you can do but learn from it. Otherwise, you're just going to sit back and complain and make matters worse. You feel me? But like, guys, I say that to say this, and I'm going to jump into this topic. You know, these customers, like I said, you know, and I mentioned this, everything I'm telling y'all guys is weird. I feel like every other quote or saying I'm referring to, I already said this in multiple GMC Talks, guys. Like, regardless of what customer you're dealing with, I don't care what neighborhood you guys are in, I don't care, you know, what you're out there to do. Your professionalism, first and foremost, like I said, you know, assuming, like I said, you guys are legit, you know, you're not out there, you know, on no side mission. If you're out there legit, you know, you pay business taxes and you pay insurance, you're out there to do a job. Your professionalism and, like I say, your respect for the customer, it should never waver. I don't care if you're in the hood, I don't care if you're in the mansion, I don't care where you are. So like, how you approach a job, the customer, or what area you in, none of that should matter, guys. Like I say, your approach and how you go about communicating with customers and how you deliver your service, you know, however you deliver it, that should never change. But guys, we got to keep it a buck here. Like, and real quick, guys, I meant to bring this up in the last GMC Talks. Guys, I don't know what the hell, before I go into this, I don't want to get too sidetracked and forget. I can't remix. The remix button doesn't work on my new videos. I don't know. I've been trying to get some info from YouTube, but like, I don't know, like I said, maybe somebody hating on the algorithm. How guys, you know my content be trending in the algorithm, but guys, I don't know. None of my videos are flagged, but like, for some reason my remix button isn't working. So like, but like I said, guys, you know the party never stops. So like, all my content, you know, most of the old stuff I said before, you know, I don't even look at most of my older videos, but like, whenever I get a chance, I always upload, like I said, you know, new shorts, but it's not for new videos. But I'm in the process of trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But for, like I said, from 2 weeks ago, for some reason, the remix button didn't work, and like, I tried refreshing everything, but YouTube is looking into it. I don't know, but in the meantime, guys, like I said, the content never ends. I don't care if I'm doing live videos, shorts, or like long form videos. It's always gonna be something to check out. But like, if you guys didn't notice, just like I said, just bear with me with that remix button until we figure out what's going on. But guys, let's get into the topic here, shall we? With these customers, guys, and this is the reason why I'm bringing this topic up. You know, I always had this topic in the back of my mind, And like out of sensitivity, like I said, because me, how I used to be on these live videos to now, guys, I'm a lot more chill and I'm a lot more reserved. But like I'm still gonna, I'm still gonna kick the facts. And like I said, guys, if you agree with me, cool. If not, then that's your opinion. This is all public speech here. But guys, let's jump into this here, guys. Like I had this maintenance customer. This had to have been like, she's been with us now for like at least 4 or 5 years. And like, guys, I tell you one thing, and I'm talking for you business owners, or like I said, you work closely with someone that handles operations, your professionalism and what you do at a customer's house, that's always a guarantee, guys. The customer is going to get, assuming, like I said, your reputation, they're going to get someone that's going to show up, provide good service, blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. I'm telling, and for you customers, if you guys are not in the HVAC industry, this is the shit that goes on that you never see. Most of the time, guys, I'm talking for you technicians, I don't care about owners. Technicians, whatever the case is, you customer service providers, I'm telling you right now, 9 times out of 10, and 10 times out of 10, I don't care. Every customer has the ability to be a whack job, but like most of the time, you won't know until you in that scenario, guys. Like you can't prepare for it, well, you can prepare for it, but like if someone flips the switch on you guys, it's either you know what to do or you don't know what to do, and you end up learning from that fucked up situation. But guys, this particular customer, and I'm going to eradicate names and locations because, like I said, somebody going to know who I'm talking about. But with this customer, guys, this customer has been with us now for like 4 or 5 years. Everything's cool, but guys, it was one small issue that always arose, guys. And you know what the issue was? It wasn't us showing up. It wasn't her calling us when she needs us. The only issue that always arose was whenever it's time to renew the agreement, she always says, and she was never there. She always says, oh yeah, I'm in a meeting, let me call you back. Guys, I say that to say this. Look, how your practices are, assuming you guys are cash on delivery, whenever the service is completed, the bill has to be paid, or if you do net 30, if you guys are commercial companies, whatever the case is. The fact is, I noticed this, and I looked this up, guys. I notate everything on file, like with specific customers. I noticed like from 3 years until now, I'm talking like from 2022, 2023, every single time, if not me, if one of my other guys go out, whenever I'm talking for a maintenance, whenever the renewal is due, she always hits us with I'm not saying she's saying this over the phone, obviously not in person. She calls when she needs service or when something breaks, but whenever the renewal is due, she always says, yeah, I'm busy or I'm in a meeting. And guys, instantly I'm like, you know what? I look on everything at a case-by-case basis. I say, you know what? Let's look at the history here. Like, okay, well, she always called us when she needed us. I'm like, and you guys heard me say this before, I'm not expecting, I have realistic expectations. I'm not expecting every customer to answer the phone when we call. I'm not expecting every customer not to have something else going on that's unrelated from HVAC, guys. And that's something you need to understand. Customers got a bunch of shit going on that has nothing to do with you. And out of respect, I'm like, all right. But I noticed, like I said, from 2022, she never renewed the agreement. She always like say she's gonna call back, and she ends up calling back the following spring. So like, I'm like, you know what, guys? I'm like, I looked at this from 2022. I'm like, at this point, it's not like a high priority for us to reach out. If she wants to, if she needs service or she needs like, whatever done, she can just call us. And like, it's been like that ever since 2022. But now, guys, like, one of my guys, this had to been, I want to say under 2 weeks ago. This had to been less than 2 weeks ago. One of my guys went out there and like, I don't know what was going on. I think this was a no heat call or a heat maintenance. I think this was a heat maintenance. It was a no heat call, and this was a heat maintenance. I think last summer she called us for the AC maintenance. I'm talking summer 2025. She didn't call us for the heat maintenance because her renewal expired. She never called us back. But this whole winter, guys, we never heard anything from her. And she called us like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago and said that, yeah, like my heat stopped working, blase, blase. And I didn't go out there. I'm telling you kind of like, what I'm looking at through the report. And one of my other guys went out there and he goes, yeah, I'm out here now, like XYZ needs to get replaced. But she wants to get the maintenance done, yada, yada, yada. And guys, I'm assuming that this lady is at the house. So I'm like, all right, well, you know what the issue is? You gave her the total, to get the repair done. But he was like, yeah, well, she wants to get the maintenance done, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, all right, well, yeah. I mean, well, add XYZ on to, with the cost of maintenance, make sure the unit is up and going first. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, she wants to get it done, cool. But then my guy, and I'm not the only person that knows this particular customer. Then my guy goes, yo, like, well, I remember this lady from last year. I know she's kind of crazy with paying, and I'm like, tell you what, at this point, I would definitely let her know, like, you need the payment up front, because I think she had a housekeeper, she had somebody there, but I would definitely I told my guy, I'm like, look, we can collect payments through our software, so it's not really difficult for us to collect payments within seconds. It's not going to take, 10 minutes for like things to process. But like, I told him, I'm like, tell you what, give her the total cost, but get the payment first before you do anything. And like, I told him, I'm like, yeah, just make sure you get the payment before anything gets done. Like I said, just due to the history, make sure, like I said, the payment gets done first. He was like, all right. So I'm like, all right. And then I get back to the job I was doing. I get a call from my guy like 15 minutes later. He calls me back and saying that she's pissed off, saying that she wants to pay after everything gets done. And I'm like, once again, guys, like, I'm telling you the bits and pieces, but all this is going to string together soon. So I'm like, all right, well, he's calling you back saying that she doesn't want to pay up front. And I'm like, I'm looking at history. I'm like, this isn't like a brand new customer. She's been with us now at that point almost 3 years. And I'm like, she already knows how the game goes. We give her the cost, but I'm like, if she's not there, then we're gonna need the payment up front, and like I said, the work gets done. And I'm like, and the tech that was there, my guy, he was like, yeah, well, she said that I think she said that she was in the meeting or whatever when he was diagnosing the system. And he called her back and he goes, yeah, well, the repair is XYZ. I'm gonna need the payment up front, and then we can get the job done, and we can call you back once everything is up and going. And she basically said that, yeah, I can call you back. Can you just fix it and I'll pay you once you get done, yada yada. Instantly, guys, I'm like, you know what? There's one or two ways I can go about this. I'm like, if we didn't have a history with that customer and someone said that, then like, and like I said, this isn't an install, this is a repair. So like, if we don't have proof of payment or like some type of way of, like I said, verifying payment, guys, you already know, like, we're cash on delivery. We don't do partial repairs. It's either someone pays to get it fixed or they don't. But we're not forcing someone to pay, or like, if the customer can do it, they can do it themselves. You get what I'm saying? But like, I told my guy, all right, let's step out to the truck, let's figure something out here. And I'm like, all right, well, tell you what, this customer did have a history of paying, so it's not like she was, it's not like she was kind of trying to finagle us out of a free repair. But I'm like, it's kind of weird that this lady never, you get what I'm saying? It's always kind of like an issue with the payment. And I'm like, tell you what, I'm not like, so I had to make a business decision, guys. I'm like, tell you what, since she always paid, there was no discrepancies. It was always kind of like, how long it took for her to pay. But I'm like, since she knows how much she has to pay, and she told you, she basically told my guy that she wanted to pay, but she wanted to make sure everything is up and going first. And there was a housekeeper there, but I don't think the housekeeper spoke English, so like, it wasn't really a middleman there between him, the customer, and the person I was there. But like, I told my guy, I'm like, tell you what, man, like, just get the work done. Like I said, get the maintenance done. We already know, like I said, she has a good history, so like, that's enough probable cause for us to at least kind of like try to work with this lady. But I'm like, tell you what, just get everything up and going, but make sure, like I said, in the future, we try to keep some type of card on file. Cause like, I don't know what this lady did. Like, she had some type of business, but she was all, this is a crazy, huge house, but she was like never there. But like, I told my guy, all right, I'm like, tell you what, just do what you got to do, get it up and going. And just like I said, call her back when everything is up and going. So like 35-40 minutes later, my guy calls his customer, and like I said, he basically said that he already tried calling 3 times. She didn't answer the phone. And like, once again, guys, the person that's at the house is not really a factor. So I'm like, all right, tell you what, he got to get to another call. I'm like, all right, you can, if everything's up and going, like, I'll follow with this lady. And I'm like, sure enough, guys, like I ended up calling her myself, like I said, a couple hours later, still no answer. And I'm like, tell you what, at this point, guys, like I said, I don't know how your operations are, but like, we're very transparent with costs and how long things are going to take, or how long repairs are going to be, or installation is going to be. But if something is kind of like sketchy with the payment, guys, you got to take things on a case-by-case basis. Not every customer, like I said, once again, they don't really care about HVAC, so like, you got to give them some grace. So it's not like they're going to be that intent. Not every customer is, like I said, intent like that up front. Some customers, like I said, it may take them a little bit longer to process everything. So like, you can't really be too judgmental up front. But guys, the principle is always the same. Cash on delivery. We don't do net 30 payments. We don't do net 30 repairs. We don't fix half of a furnace now and then the other half once they pay next month. No, it's either your shit is going to work or it's not. But like, make a long story short, guys, now everything is up and going. Furnace is up and going. The house is heating up. My guy already left. I'm like, he told me he already called twice and she didn't answer. So I'm like, all right, once again, benefit of the doubt. I'm like, tell you what, maybe she's in a meeting. So guys, I wasn't tripping, but it was kind of like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's kind of making this process harder than what it needs to be. Like, if someone is that busy, I would prefer to have a card on file. The only thing I do is text you the address or call you with not text you the address, text you with the job amount or call you with the job amount. Hey, you're using card that ends in yada yada. Cool, and that's it. And I email you the receipt. Everything is done within a couple of seconds. But like with this particular customer, it was always kind of like that mystery behind like the payment. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, guys, I'm like, you know what? Benefit of the doubt, she always paid, but it always took longer for her to do this. But she been doing this now for like 3 years, and I'm like, like I said, guys, like it gets to a point where like I believe in just simplicity. I don't like making shit harder than what it needs to be. I said this a million and one times. This goes with training. This goes with customers. I don't like the extra bullshit. Like I said, I go straight to the point. Here's how much it costs. Here's how much it's going to take. What do you want to do here? If you don't want to do it, it's cool. I'm not. And like I said, guys, if I'm not saying none of y'all are sensitive, but if someone is sensitive, they may take that as being like rude. But no, I don't like bullshitting and wasting time. If I'm there for 40 minutes trying to explain something that takes 2 seconds, you gotta assume that I'm over explaining something or like I'm giving you more information than what's actually required. So like I don't like over complicating things. Like, and this is with everything. You want to keep things as simple as possible. Everything else can be explained on an as needed basis. But like I said, guys, back to this customer. I'm calling her. My guy's already gone. I'm calling her, like not answering. This is like 1 o'clock. Not answering. I'm like, all right, tell you what. I'll probably wait until the end of the day. I'll wait till like 3, 4 o'clock. Called her a second and third time, like still no answer. So I'm like, all right, let's wait until tomorrow. So, like I said, I get a text or call. I get a call back the next morning, and like I said, guys, I'm not sedentary. Like I gotta rip and roll myself. So I get a call back from this lady, and I'm like, hey, just a heads up. And she finally called back the next morning. I'm like, yeah, just a heads up. XYZ technician came out. Everything is rocking and rolling. He told you the job amount up front, and you told him you wanted him to reach back out to you once everything is up and going. She was like, yeah, and I'm like, tell you what, and I like I say, this is me in a calm voice. Like how I speak with customers is not how I speak to y'all. I speak to y'all like y'all in the truck with me. So like, this is all truck talk. But like, I told the customer, like, tell you what, just to make things simpler in the future, for like maintenance or repairs, I think it may be more beneficial for you to have a card on file. So in the future, the only thing we can do is like, especially if you're not there, if you're there, this is easier. But if you're not there, we can just, like I said, call you with the issue and like give you the job amount, how much it's going to cost. If you want to get it done, at least we don't have to kind of like wait too long for the payment. And like instantly, guys, like that's when she was like, yeah, well, like, I mean, every single person, every single one of the contractors I deal with, is always like a delayed payment. And like, I mean, the shit that she was talking about, guys, like, I mean, in the back of my head, like, I'm like, all right, like, I never had this conversation with her, but like, I looked at the notes. I never went out there, but like, I looked at the notes. It was always kind of like a next day or a next week payment. And I'm like, this isn't an install, guys. This is like a basic repair. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, guys, I'm like, all right, well, tell you what, I try to give her a recommended solution, having a card on file. But it's like, I mean, hunt down payments, guys. That's not my idea of kind of like doing business. But like with that lady, like she basically said, yo, that's how, I don't like to have cards on file. And I'm like, that's understood. But like, I mean, the payment is always going to be due upon completion of the service. And I'm like, I told the customer, I'm like, look, I understand you don't want to pay until everything is done. That's fine. But when things are done, the payment is expected. And that's the same day, like not necessarily next day. And like I told her that, I'm like, and I gave her another explanation. I'm like, tell you what, I mean, or another idea is like, if you're not there, make sure whoever's there has some form of payment, just to make things simpler, guys. Like, I'm just trying to give her options just to make our job easier and make her job easier. I know she doesn't want whatever she's doing, guys. I know she doesn't want 20 or 30, not 20 or 30, but like 2 or 3 calls randomly, like, hey, we need payment. Like, you just want to make things simple, guys. But like, the moment I mentioned, like, yeah, maybe whoever you keep here, relative or housekeeper, maybe it may be beneficial just to kind of like, in the future, just have, like I said, and she paid. That's the thing I don't want to leave out. She ended up paying the next day, but like, but eventually, guys, once I brought up like, hey, or maybe a housekeeper, that's when kind of like she got upset with me. This is over the phone. This wasn't in person. And I'm like, and she was like, yeah, well, let me tell you what, that's just how I do things, yada yada. But like, I reiterated again. I'm like, man, like, we're cash on delivery. Unfortunately, we don't. This isn't like a job amount big enough that it's going to take 30. I mean, I'm saying like commercial installs. Like I know some commercial places, they pay a net 30 and net 60. I already been there and done that. But like, guys, like how we do things, like we're cash on delivery, but we're very transparent about, what needs to be done and how much things cost. So there's no confusion. But like, I mean, once again, I explained to her a third time, like as far as like how we do things, and like, she disagreed with it. And I told her, I'm like, man, well, unfortunately, like I said, we're not, if you can probably find a different company that do net 30, net 60 payments, but I'm like, unfortunately, like we require payment up front after completion of the job. If this job wasn't completed until the next day or next week, I'm like, that warrants, like I said, you to wait on payment. But I'm like, if we can verify everything's up and going, once again, I explained detail by detail, this is just how we do things. And unfortunately, like I said, guys, she's seeing it a different way. And like, respectfully, this wasn't an argument. Like maybe how I'm explaining this, guys, it may sound crazy, like as far as like, but this is like I said, this is a cordial conversation. And I told her, like, unfortunately, like, I'm based on the history here, 3-4 years, like I'm like, eventually I don't think this is kind of like going to be in our best interest to continue to do business here. And I told her, like, maybe it may be best for you to, like I said, let a company know like how you do the payments, because eventually, especially once things get busy, guys, like now it's easier to deal with people like that because you got time. But once the season comes, I'm talking summer, once the season hits, guys, like it's make or break. But like, unfortunately, guys, I had to let that customer go. Like, I feel like, guys, and from experience, things never get better from like a fucked up situation. Like if you got like a weird feeling in your stomach, like if you kind of like feel like, a customer's going to finesse you, I'm saying before it happens, but if you get that feeling about people, guys, like that's called a gut feeling. Like never go away from your gut feeling. And like, this is like 3 or 4 years ago. I'm looking at the tickets. I'm looking at the report. It's saying like customer didn't pay. And I'm like, yo, like, I mean, did we do something wrong? I'm like, and I'm calling the guys that went out there. I'm like, yo, like, I mean, is the job up and like, is the unit up and going? Yeah, the unit's up and going. But I called the 3 times, she didn't answer. And I'm like, and I actually called. That's why I gave her grace, guys. I wasn't harping on the non-payment. I'm always first, like I said, how I do things, guys. This is me. How I do things, like I said, before any situation escalates, I always look at what the problem reported was. Like, why did we come out there? What do we do? Did we actually do what we said we were going to do? If we didn't complete the repair or complete the install, then like, it is what it is with the payment. But that rarely happens because, like I said, guys, we're honest and transparent about what needs to be done. But like with that customer, like the job, it was no question. Like what she called us out there to do, we did. But like with the payment aspect, it's like I don't let like payments like linger around. We're not a fucking net 60 company, And like, guys, this is way different than like a net 60 company where you got to use your line of credit like to cover your like. It's not that, guys. It's not that serious for us to like let people like that linger on. And I'm like, I don't really feel good about keeping people on like that play around with payments. And I'm like, I get her principle, her ideology, but like, I don't think we're the right company for that customer. But guys, I use that story, man, of why I'm talking about this subject now. Guys, like, it took me a while to like mature in business and know how to deal with crazy people. I'm not saying it's easy, guys. I'm talking for you business owners, or if you guys work close to the owner. I mean, you got emotional ties into what we do, because like I told y'all, like the shit I'm telling y'all, a lot of customers is not going to understand. The only thing they're going to know is like who to call because something's broke. But like the fact is, guys, like I'm saying that to say this, like, if you're dealing with a whacked out customer, you cannot take shit personal. I'm telling you, like, if you take things personal, then like I said, I'm assuming you already got paid, because if you didn't, if you start taking things personal and now the customer feels offended, now, guys, you got a bigger situation than what was expected up front. Now you got a bigger situation to deal with. And like, I'm going to get into, like I said, how to fire customers, in general, like it. I feel like it's simple, guys, but like it's going to take some practicing. And like, I mean, you can role play these scenarios, but like, I think you got to use common sense as well. Like, I don't think this isn't a topic that you got to get too technical on in regards to like, firing customers. Like, you got to understand, guys, like, not every person you deal with is going to be a customer, and your business is not for everybody. But it takes you having, some self-awareness of what you are and like what you're about as far as with your reputation in business. Like, if you don't have, if you don't have your feet wet in the sand, like if you don't know what you're about, like say, if you haven't built your reputation, then start first with building your reputation. But like, once you get an idea of like, like I already been through a couple sandstorms, like, but like, I know I can like weather the storm. Like, once you get that confidence and get your feet wet in business, I mean, like nothing really changes. It's just like I said, the people changes. You get what I'm saying? But like, guys, I say that to say this, man. Like, with firing customers, like number one, like you can't lose your head. Like I said, regardless of what was expected, don't lose your head. And for two, this should be number one. For number two, one thing you should do is always, like I said, deliver on your promises. If a customer wanted you to move a damn RTU, I mean, assuming it's doable, but if a customer wanted you to relocate a unit on the other side of the house, this should be part of your presentation and your proposal. Make sure, like I said, you can realistically show the customer, here's what to expect, noises, like I said, guys, you want to play as many scenarios as possible based on what the customer wants. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't know, I'm assuming you guys already do this, but if you don't, then like I said, like this should be what you should do to cover your ass. Like I said, on estimates, know what the customer wants. If a customer wants something, like I said, that's going to be like, I can't even give you a scenario, but like if the customer wants something that I know that's going to cause a bunch of concerns down the line, I'll bring it up to the customer's attention. Like, hey, like, you want to modulate in furnace and the ductwork is falling apart. I don't think that's going to work because eventually, like I said, the blower motor is going to burn itself out. Like small things like that, guys. But like everything is relative based on what the customer wants. Like I'm not going out to a no heat or a no AC call and start recommending random shit. No, everything is relative based on the current set of circumstances. Like if the customer has allergies, you got air purifiers, or in the wintertime, if the customer stated that they had humidity problems, like I said, dry noses, like shit like that, that's where, ultimately, like I said, that can lead up to you having a conversation about indoor air quality. But guys, like I said, back to the how to fire customers, like once again, your professionalism and how you do business should never waver based on how someone looks, where they live, and like how they talk, guys. Because at the end of the day, like this is some real shit, guys. Like I had this conversation at least 2 different times within the past 2 weeks. Again, I had this fucking customer, man. Like, and I'm talking in Philadelphia, guys. I had this customer, man. This is the second time this shit happened. You know what she said, guys? I was out here for a no heat call. I had this elderly customer. She goes, yeah. Well, I called another guy to come out, and I'm talking, he was a local, I don't know the name of the company, but it was a local company that she said the guy came out and like, basically, make a long story short, like I think he gave her like an 8 to 3 time frame. Like, and like, guys, look, how you do business, once again, I just laugh at this shit because it's entertainment, but like, he gave her a 8 to 3, or 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. time frame. And like, he basically, like, she was like, all right, because like she needs heat. And she was like, all right, he gave her 8 to 3. And like by like 2:30, he told her that like, yeah, like something, I think either the truck broke, it was something stupid, but like he basically called her like right towards the last time of the time frame. And he told her that he couldn't make it out there today. And she was like, all right, well, when can you make it out there? He was non-committal. He told her that he'll have to call her back, and like, of course she was pissed off, but like, and like that's what led her to reaching out to us. But it's just like she said the same shit I said, but it's like I said, I know you guys understand what I'm saying, especially for you guys that work in Philly or New York or any inner city, like in the Northeast. She basically said like, I got no problem paying, but she was like, sometimes I look, and she was a black woman too. She was like, sometimes you look at black contractors different, because it's like at the end of the day, like, you just want someone reliable that shows up, that actually know what they're doing. And like not once, guys, did she mention money. Like, and that's the shit I was gonna go into later on, guys. I don't give a shit about money, like, because the point is, guys, I seen rich customers, like I said, not pay $100, and I seen people in the hood that pay tens of thousands of dollars for HVAC. So guys, like, you can't, that's what I'm telling you guys. You can't have preconceived notions based on how people look. Because like I said, especially if they need something done, everybody can find the money to pay for something. But like, guys, the money isn't the problem, but it's just like the shit that she was talking about. Like, I see this every day, and it was like, I told her like, this is all entertainment, but like, by someone giving you an 8 to 3 time frame, I know shit happens, guys. Like I say, we're not in control of everything that happens. Like, random shit can happen, trucks breaking down, parts breaking on your truck that you really need or something like that. God, shit happens. But the best thing you can do as a contractor is, like I said, be proactive, and once again, communicate with customers. Like, don't assume shit. Like, and that's one thing I do, guys. I over communicate. You guys already seen the shit I put on my videos. That's the same thing I explain to customers, but in a simpler way. But I like over communicating. Whatever I say, I always make sure the customer understands, and I always ask them, hey, ma'am or sir, did you have any other questions? Make sure they understand what's going on. But even before that point, guys, like, if something goes left, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. If I'm on the 8 to 10, no AC call, and I got a 10 to 12, like, let's say right around the corner. And I look up, and guys, I'm putting in the condenser fan motor, and it's 9:30, and I'm like, I know I'm like probably at least 30 minutes away, and not even 9:30, guys. Like, I'll know this beforehand, but like, let's say if it's like 9 o'clock, right? Maybe it take you guys like maybe a half an hour, 35 minutes to do a condenser fan motor, and let's say you got everything on your truck. You got brackets, you got motors, you good. If it's 9 o'clock and like I know I'm like at least 30 minutes away, and I know it's gonna take me at least a half an hour, even before that last time frame, like once I kind of like know what's going on, I'll call the next customer, and that's if it comes to this point. I'll say, man, hey, just a heads up, I'm running a little bit behind. Like I'm just doing this motor replacement. You're definitely next up, but just a heads up. I know I gave you 10 to 12. It might be like an 11 to 1. Guys, that's all. Like I like unless the customer has some type of time constraint. If she had to go to a doctor's appointment at 10 o'clock, that's different. But like the point is, like I always give customers that leeway of knowing when I'm going to show up. You give a customer 8 to 3 time frame, like what the hell? Like, and once again, this customer got things she got to do herself, but like being at home 8 to 3 all day waiting, and then knowing that at 2:30 now this guy can't show up, like, guys, the customer service aspect is fucked up. I'm telling you, like, and guys, the shit I'm telling y'all, I mean, this should be part of who you are. This shouldn't be something you gotta train for. But if you don't know how to show up and be reliable and do what you say you're gonna do, like have some integrity, guys, you're gonna have more problems than you have money in your bank account, guys. And like I've seen so many fucked up scenarios, and like everything always resorts back to something the contractor didn't do, or maybe he was scared to say no. I don't know, but like I'm like, man, like it's definitely money out here. But like I said, guys, like I don't know, I can't communicate this in like an easier way, and like it's either you understand it or you don't. But like it's definitely customers out here. I don't care what nationality, what gender you are, or where you from. There's paying customers out here. But like if people get taken advantage of too many times with certain scenarios, like they're gonna, I don't think it's gonna work out in your favor. I'm saying for the new companies coming up, you get what I'm saying? But that's why, like, before I bring this back to the topic, like you gotta, for one, like build your reputation up, do what you say you're gonna do. Like you don't necessarily need, like I said, $80,000 trucks and like, the newest gadget tools. Like, nah, black and white. The customer don't care about that. I think the only thing the customer's gonna remember is, did this guy show up, or did this guy or this girl show up? For you women technicians out there, did they show up? Did they do what they said they're gonna do? And do they stand behind their work? If one of those 3 things are missing, you're fucked. And like, it's nothing you can do about it. It's not the customer's fault. That's all on you. But guys, like I said, not to sway this too far off topic, but as far as before you get to firing customers, you got to make sure you're holding up your end of the bargain. And when I say holding up your end of the bargain, guys, like, if you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, man, regardless of what the customer said or what I think, here's what the customer expected and here's what I did. If you can't meet those expectations, and like I said, it starts by, you showing up when you tell the customer you're going to show up. But like I say, you show up on time, and you present a solid solution to the problem, and like say you warranty whatever you do. So it's not like, the customer is concerned about the same thing happening every day. If you cover all your bases, guys, like I said, you can't really go wrong with that as far as with the presentation aspect. But guys, is it possible for you to go through all this and still have a bad experience? Yeah, because like I said, you're not in control of what happens at the customer's house before they call. They could be having a bad day, or some crazy shit could happen. Like it is what it is. But can you make matters worse by you not being professional and being respectful? Yeah, that's why I tell you guys, like, I don't want you guys to take 3 seconds of this video and take it out of context and say that all customers are bad. No, once you get past that level of, like I said, having a good reputation, every single call goes the same way. And I'm pretty sure some of you guys probably already at that level. Like now you can get to the point of pick and choosing. All right, well, this type of customer, it works, but this type of customer waiting 2 or 3 months to pay, I mean, I'm not dealing with that. And like this, not taking it personal, that's just how we roll. But like once you get to that level, guys, like, I mean, it's way easier to pick and choose. And like I said, now you can dictate, a lot more outcomes than you would have did before. When I was first, guys, I told you, when I first started off in business, like I took on, customers 80, 90 miles away. Like, gosh, like our service radius is crazy, but like I only did that to get experience. And now I know, like I said, regardless of how far a customer live or how close they are, you can always put them into certain categories based on what's going on. And like I said, guys, like I said, it takes experience for you to kind of like understand how to have discernment. Like, so I'm talking people in general, not necessarily customers, but it takes discernment to understand, like, hey, 9 times out of 10, if someone's too nonchalant, I told y'all that, like dealing with nonchalant people, I treat them the same way I do with, like I said, attentive customers. Like if they want to get something done, my presentation doesn't change. It's always going to be XYZ. here's the price, here's I'm talking for no heat or no AC costs. Like, here's what we're out here to do, here's what I did, here's how much it's gonna cost. Okay, so what we want to do here. But like I said, guys, but I'm telling y'all, I'm not a fan of making customer service harder than what it needs to be. But like I said, guys, how you fire customers, like I said, you keep it professional. You make sure, like I said, you're standing behind your guarantees and your work, doing what you say you're going to do, showing up on time, and actually presenting presenting a solution to the problem. But if you're doing that, and like I said, the customer's all over the place with payment, then like I said, guys, you've seen videos online, this is another thing. You see videos online, guys, and like I said, guys, I can't, like I said, we all flawed human beings, like I said. But I used to think that way when I first started the business. I'm like, yo, if I install brand new ductwork, brand new heat pumps and air handler for a customer, they told me they were going to pay $10,000, and then maybe they backed out at the last minute once everything is up and going. Of course, I'm gonna feel some type of way, but guys, it's certain ways you go about dealing with people like that. I'm talking specifics. If a customer pulls out at the last minute, like with payment, for one, it's you should already know that you should have some type of, if they're doing financing, then I don't think that should matter, because with financing, everything has to get signed and approved up front. But if you guys doing non-financing and you're not taking payment up front, especially I'm not saying for customers that you knew for a long time, but for brand new customers, if you don't take payments up front, I'm talking for large scale projects like installs, then whatever happens to you, I hope you learn from it. But guys, I say that to say this, going back and trashing people's properties, nah, guys, that's not gonna work out to your advantage. I get the thought process behind it, you being upset, and you guys seen the videos online. I think it was a general contractor. He did I'm pretty sure you guys seen this. This video has been online for a couple of years, but he did this lady's bathroom, and I don't know what happened. Maybe she didn't like it or whatever, but like I said, we only know based on his reaction. But the contractor went back there with a sledgehammer, and basically everything was done. He remodeled the whole bathroom, but she didn't like it, and she refused to pay, and he went back there with a sledgehammer and broke everything up. And guys, that's a criminal offense. That's where I want you guys, like I said, to stay out of the jails. But that's not that situation. He should have took that to small claims but I'm that's a fucked up situation to be in. And like I said, I don't know what the agreement was, and maybe the customer wanted something totally different than what he did. That's not something we're going to know. That's not public information. But guys, vandalizing people's property, I'm talking on repairs and installation. Guys, take your losses. Like I said, that's part of you being a business owner, or like I said, you being a growing technician. Take your losses on the chin. Don't deny that, like I said, what happened. I had that happen to me early in business. Like I said, people reneged on installs, people reneged on paying for repairs. It doesn't happen as much as, like I said, it happened before, because like I said, guys, I learned from it. But of course you're going to be upset, but like I said, take your time, take a couple of minutes to vent. And like I said, I'm talking to yourself or however you got to do it. Take a couple minutes to vent, and like I said, put the situation behind you. Just know that it's going to be other customers out there, like I said, that's in need for your service. But you can't let one bad customer define, like I said, your service. You can't let one bad customer define how you do business, because I'm telling y'all, that's why, like I say, it's great to have passion, but you can't be too emotional. Having passion means, like I said, you got a lot of energy pertaining to, like say, your ability to help customers out and help people. But where emotions can fuck you up is if you're dealing with situations that you can't control, angry customers, crazy customers. If you're too emotional, think about it like this, guys. If I'm screaming, yelling at a customer more than they're screaming at me, they called me out there. They're not at my house. They're not, you get what I'm saying? So I'm telling y'all, I'm not saying that you're always going to be, the customer's always going to be right. All I'm saying is you have to regulate your emotions. You gotta. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you have to regulate your emotions and just relax, especially in the heat of the moment. Because like I said, if you say something you don't mean to say, you do something you don't mean to do, you can't take those situations back, guys. And I'm telling you, there's more than enough situations out here that you can learn from as far as what not to do. Like I said, the biggest thing you can do, guys, is like I said, like I mentioned earlier, over-explain, over-complicate, well, not over-complicate, over-explain, over-communicate, exactly what the expectations are. Like I said, if you got that one customer, that I'm talking with estimates for replacement, If that customer wanted that one particular unit, make sure, hey, is there anything else you wanted? Yada yada. Make sure, like I said, you get those answers, because like I said, it's some things it's too late to ask questions once everything's done. And now that customer's saying, oh, well, by the way, I thought you were going to put in the filter rack. I thought you were going to put in the humidifier. And then you're going to say, well, you didn't mention that to me. Oh, well, no, I don't feel like. Now, guys, you get what I'm saying? That's why, I don't know how your procedures are, but like I say, I can tell you from experience, once you get screwed over once from a customer, there's some things you're never going to forget to do. And I'm talking from a prevention standpoint, like taking your time out. I'm not rushing my estimates. I'm not rushing my proposals. I'm making sure I'm locked in, understanding exactly what the customer wants, what they don't want, what the pain points are. And like I said, guys, this is all part of you selling equipment. Like I'm not coming out with a clipboard telling the customer, hey, like I'm not selling them $10 product. No, I'm first understanding why I'm out there. And like, so I'm taking the customer's information in as far as with what they're telling me, what they want. And like I said, guys, all that comes together into 3 options or 2 options or 1 option, however you guys, put together your proposals. But like everything is based on what the customer already told me. So like, but I'm telling y'all, like dealing with bad customers, guys, like, and that's why, all this shit is entertainment. Like I mentioned earlier, like, even with that lady, like I had a bad feeling about going back out there. I'm saying like a couple of weeks ago, I had a bad feeling sending my guy out there, but I'm like, man, like the only reason I even sent him back out there is like, I'm like, she does call us whenever something breaks, but I'm like, I couldn't deal with, like I said, she, like I said, she has no issues calling us when something breaks, but like I said, she always has an issue with paying, and I'm like, that's not how we do business. You can, take whatever service you got, and like I said, you gotta find a different provider. But like, I'm telling y'all, guys, like I don't know, I want to know what y'all think about this, man. Like, cause like customer service, it's not really that hard. Like, I mean, if you guys are not in the trade, if you're in retail, it's almost the same shit. Like, think about this right now, guys. How many videos right now are on WorldStar with retail people? I'm talking like employees crashing out, like at the dollar store, like retail employees like yelling at customers. Like, I'm telling you, I'm not saying they wrong, because like I said, guys, everybody, once you get provoked past a certain point, everybody has a boiling point where they're going to snap. It could be high, it could be low. But all I'm saying is this, guys, like, and like if this wasn't already communicated to you, like you got to have this already instinctively in your head. Like, you got way more to lose than the customer do, because like I said, and I hate to say this, I'm not saying, you got to bow down to like every customer and nothing like that. But guys, like, it's best, the first thing you got to do, your first line of defense, is set proper expectations. That, like I said, and I've mentioned this 1,000,001 times, doing what you say you're going to do, that should be a non-negotiable, guys. Like, and that's why it's important for you to, like I said, practice good habits. Doing what you say you're going to do, that's a non-negotiable. Like, I don't even talk about that, because like that's already an expectation. Like, imagine me telling the customer, yeah, like we're going to show up on time. Nah, that's already that. And like, guys, that's what's crazy. Like, most of the good reviews I get, that's just like, and you guys already know, like I told y'all, most of the time, if I've been to a customer's house a couple of times, I don't even talk about HVAC. Like, it's just like, and like I said, guys, if you're not already at that point, once you get to that point of like already knowing the black and whites, the X's and O's, like, I mean, I don't have to explain to a customer how a fucking capacitor work. Like, you get what I'm saying? But like, they already got enough things to talk about. Most of the time, we probably talking about sports, we talking about some other shit. But it's just like, guys, I don't know. Like I said, maybe, it's going to take y'all some time to grow y'all personalities with y'all expertise. But like I said, how you guys do things, or how I do things, may be different than how you guys do things. But eventually, once you build your experience up, you'll realize, man, like, people always make things harder than what it needs to be for no reason. And if I'm dealing with a customer that make things harder than what it needs to be, like, I'm easily trying to de-escalate the situation. And that's why I train my guys on, like, when I do role playing with customer service, I don't care about shit going right. Like, guys, I'm telling you right now, I train for worst case scenarios. How you deal with very angry customers, how you deal with, let's say, if hypothetically speaking, if one of your coworkers, like, if we sent the guy out, he messed up a motor, maybe this was his first motor doing by itself. He messed it up. Now the customer's mad because they're in a cold or a hot house. Now you got to go back out there to save the day. How would you go back out there to do it? Guys, these are scenarios that, like I said, not a lot of people, unless you've been in a scenario, a lot of people are going to fold in it. And I felt, like I said, when I first started running service calls after I transitioned from doing maintenances, like, I had to crash and burn. Like, so I wasn't used to dealing with, like I said, angry customers. I thought everybody always said yes, or everybody just said no, and that's it. But like, the guys, like I said, the innuendos, like the kind of like the shit that, what, it's either you know about it or you don't know. And I'm like, eventually, guys, like, so I got tired of losing, and I got tired of not being able to go back to fix things or replace things. And now I started realizing like this shit has something to do with your job. It really has something to do with, that human to human dynamic. Like regardless of where the customer lives, like I said, what they say or or what they look like, everybody has that expectation. Every customer has the expectation of calling someone to come out to provide a solution to a problem. And like I said, you heard me say this before, guys, if the customer knew what to do, and I mentioned this before too, guys, everything I'm telling y'all is straight and up front. There's no emotions, there's no bullshit behind this. If a customer calls me and say, you know what, I need help fixing my AC, blah, 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 I'm like, all right, yeah. I put them on the schedule. I go out there and I tell them, hey, it's a bad condenser fan motor. He tells me, oh, yeah, I already knew it's a bad condenser fan motor. I just needed someone to double check. I'm like, all right, well, tell you what, here's the price to do the motor. Price of the new motor is XYZ. And if he tells you guys, like I said, we all go through this, but like if he calls, if I tell him the price of the new motor, and he tells me, hey, we'll tell you what, since I already knew what the problem was, I think the motor, the price of the new motor and everything should be like under $100. Instantly, guys, like I said, if he wants to do it himself, if he knows all this, guys, like I'll say, hey, hats off to you. I don't like customer or HVAC tech. If you know what to do, then like I said, guys, like have at it. I'm not going to stop you from solving your own problem. But if you know what the issue is and he's looking for someone to do it for free, that's not how it works. And like that's where you got to go into like the cost of doing business and things like that. But like if this, and guys, like I said, everybody deals with it. But the only thing I recommend you guys doing is like keep a level head and keep your composure, because I'm telling y'all, like, especially when it gets hot, or not necessarily when it gets cold, but when it gets real hot and you guys been out, like I said, running calls all day, 90 degrees, you get your last call at 2 o'clock and this guy's saying that he already knew what the problem was before he came out, allegedly, and now, like I said, he thinks that it should be less than a certain amount. Offer him to, like I said, if you know what the issue is and you know how much it costs, feel free to, like I said, get it done yourself. But I'm not arguing with you, like, here's my cost to do it, or like I said, if you got your cost, and like I said, watch one of my YouTube videos, and like I said, yeah, good luck. But like I said, guys, like it is what it is, guys. Like I said, I'm not gonna call it a fallacy, but like I said, guys, when I first started in business, I always thought that, what, man, like every customer is, like I said, I thought that, if I get a bunch of customers that live in like mansions, the preconceived notion thing, like I told myself, I get like a handful of them, I'll be all right. But then you realize, like, guys, like I said, never once did I mention money was an issue, guys. Like, that's not how it works, because this shit, most of the time, like, money shit doesn't matter. It's all about the principle, and it's all about respect and communication, guys. Like, this has nothing to do with HVAC or money, but like, if you feel like the respect isn't there, like, obviously if you've been coming out to a customer's house, he or she should have an idea of how you do business. Like, otherwise they can ask you, and then you can, assuming you guys communicate, you can explain to them, hey, here's what to expect, here's what we do, here's what we don't do. We don't do, we don't do plumbing, we don't do electrics, we don't, like, you get what I'm saying? But like, most of the time they already know that. If not, like I said, they can ask you, but like, that should be like a base level of respect. And two is communication. Like, I don't like assuming shit, guys. Like, if I go to a customer's house, and this is why I tell y'all, like, the only customer that, like, my arch nemesis is a nonchalant customer, someone that doesn't talk. And like, I'm like, at that point, guys, if I show up at your house and like I'm asking you, hey, ma'am, sir, where's the thermostat? I'm like, what? I'm like, if you get that nonchalant customer, guys, and you, like I said, and like, I'm not judging people, I'm not judging races or genders, but if you get that nonchalant customer that's kind of like bothered by you being there, I'm like, all right, why the fuck did you call me out here to begin with then? So like, that, but guys, like I said, I'm not saying to say that to a customer, but like, you keep it respectful. But like a nonchalant customer, like, I like communicating, guys, like, especially like I said, with a brand new customer, like I sell my business every day to customers. Like, it's not, that's part of my personality, guys. Like, I don't go to customers' houses and like say, act like I don't want to be there. Like, nah, I'm out here to do a job. I know why I'm here, and I know what I got to do to fix the solution once I figure out what the problem is. So like, guys, this is the only way, and this is the best way to go about it. Like, you shouldn't go into a customer's house worrying about, something happened yesterday or something's gonna happen tomorrow. No, you stay in the moment, and like I said, you stay present. And like I said, you do the best job you can do. But like, the nonchalant customers, like I said, if you can't communicate, then like, I like providing expectations up front, during, and after. So like I said, there is no, misunderstandings. There's no buyer's remorse. There's no assuming. There's none of that shit. Every customer should know exactly what to expect. I'm saying from dealing with us. So like I said, communication is always going to be a guarantee. But if that communication isn't reciprocated, maybe the customer, like I said, maybe, it is what it is, guys. Like I said, most of the time, most customers are not going to let you know what they don't like. They're just not going to call you back, or they're just going to say, no, let me think about it, whatever the case is, guys, if a customer chooses not to do business with your company, then like I said, the best thing you can do is, like I said, revisit, your procedures, and you fine tune it, and you find a way to get better. Will this happen every time? No, but like, you're not going to win them all. So like, have proper expectations. That doesn't mean you got to hound every customer, call them 50 times a day. Now, if they owe money, then like I said, that's different. I like following up to, make sure that the payment gets paid. But like, if a customer says no, then like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, I got to give them time. If they tell me they need time, I got to respect their wishes. Like, and I mentioned this before, guys, like, I never, like I said, we've been in business now, what is it? Shit, 2016, was it 2026? We've been in business now 10 years. Like, I never had to like force a customer to do anything. Like, and like I said, guys, this is all common sense. I'm not saying, like I said, if your job is to sell shit, then like, I mean, that's on you. But like, my thing is this, like, I mean, 9 times out of 10, if you go out to a no AC call or estimate, give the customer a price, if they tell you they need more time, like, and I mentioned this in previous videos too, like, understand that they're telling you they need time, like, especially a price over a certain amount. Not everybody can like say okay about it. They got to think about it. Then like, give them time to think about it. But you can't talk yourself out of winning a job if you keep beating a dead horse. And like I said, if a customer says they need to think about it, now you're saying, oh well, tell you what if I do it now? Eventually they're gonna, and like I said, I'll probably get annoyed. Like, if I'm at a mechanic and this motherfucker trying to sell me, I'm getting an oil change done. He's trying to sell me an oil filter, and I'm like, nah, I'll wait on it. And then he comes back 5 minutes later. Oh, you sure you don't want to get it? I'll be like, man, you better put my damn, change my oil so I can get the fuck up out of here. Like, God, but like I said, guys, like, I treat customer service like that. Like, I don't like pestering people, because like I said, eventually I get irritated and I want to slap somebody in the back of their head. But like, I'm not advocating for, like I said, violence and all like that, guys. But like I said, I treat customers like that the same way. I'm like, look, as long as I'm okay with how I presented the options, and I communicated, and I listened to what the customer said, and I presented them a proposal, then like I said, my job is done. Like, it may be cool to follow up within a couple of days, depends on what the customer told you. If they got to talk with their spouse about it, give them time to go over everything. Maybe in a couple of days, when you call them or they call you, they may have a different model or a different system that they wanted that wasn't talked about, because they needed time to Google up the model number. Like, guys, like I said, that's the day and age that we're in. Like, I don't think many customers are going to make decisions over. I'm talking like a $10,000 or a $12,000 heater AC unit. Most people need time to look into things and like think about it, because like I said, like, that buyer's remorse shit is a real deal, guys. I'm telling y'all, like, and everybody been through it. I'm talking you as a consumer. Like, I don't care what you bought, HVAC stuff or not. Like, you don't want to be rushing to making a decision, and now like it's too late for you to call. People do that shit with cars all the time. Think about the negative equity thing that's going on right now, guys. Like I said, look, I mentioned this before, guys. That's why I don't judge people. I don't recommend you judging people, because like I said, I see this negative equity shit all the time. Like, you drive off the lot and now the car is worth $30,000 less, but you still got to pay that $30,000 difference. And now once the car 2 years later, once the value is less and you trade it in, now you still got to pay back $80,000 from a model. Like, guys, I'm telling you, that shit is a scam, man. Like, but guys, like I said, what do I know? All I'm telling y'all is, like I said, live y'all happiness out. And like I said, the more happy and peace you got in you, like, so you don't have to worry about everything else is going on. Because like I said, it's a lot of scamish stuff going on right now. But guys, how long I've been on here? I've been on here for an hour. Yeah, guys, I'm telling y'all, like, I can, these GMC Talks, I can go on for at least 3 or 4 hours if I get the right topics. But like I said, with customer service, like I said, I'm a preach this until the cows come home. Like, you want to try to simplify. I don't care whatever you do, guys. Like, how you do it, you go from A to Z to Y and then back to A. Whatever you do, just try to simplify what you're doing, guys. Because I'm telling you, customers will never change. Like, I don't care what they're trying to say. They're gonna change us with robots or with AI, whatever the case is, guys. That human to human interaction, it will never change. But like, it's your job to understand. It's a lot easier. I say this like out of experience, and I say this, like I said, respectfully. It's a lot easier to lose a job than it is to win a job. I'm not saying, like I said, a customer is going to willingly give you money to fix something. No, but it's a lot easier for you to fuck up a situation than it is to win. So what that means, like I said, knowing what I just said in the back of your mind, if you keep that in the back of your mind and know that, you know what, since I know it's a lot easier for me to lose a job, let me make sure I'm prepared to win. I'm prepared to win by knowing what I got to say when I get to a customer's house. I know how to handle objections. Like, so I'm not taking it personal, not taking the situation personal. I know the customer may be upset about who came out or what's going on, but I got to remember why I'm out there. I'm out there to do a job. I know I can communicate. I can make sure, like I said, the customer understands what I'm saying. If not, then like I said, get them time to, like I said, think about what's going on and make sure they're on the same page. And 3, like I said, which is a non-negotiable. I know I can stand behind my work. None of this has anything to do with money, guys. I'm telling y'all, because like I know one of you motherfuckers is gonna say, why can't you just raise your price? No, raising your price doesn't really do shit, guys. Because I'm telling you, like every single customer I'm telling you about has the ability to pay. So like, raising your price doesn't mean shit. I'm not saying you working for free. I'm not saying the customer doesn't want to pay, but that's something that, like I said, once you get that one customer that refused to pay because of XYZ, the next time you're in that scenario, don't forget about what I just said about you having that customer that didn't want to pay. That should go into what you should prevent from doing down the line. If that means, like I said, explaining a certain key feature and benefit, explaining, like I said, guys, you have your own unique experiences of shit that didn't go right. Use that to your advantage. I can't tell you what you went through because I don't fucking know, but I can tell you what I went through and what I learned from what I went through. But like I said, guys, that's what I was telling you. Like, if you be honest with yourself, everybody got some experiences that they can draw their own wisdom and experience through. Like, your wisdom and your expertise, most of the shit comes from what you already seen or what you already did. But if you living in denial and, like I said, like, you out there on some bullshit and like you're never going to take accountability and you're going to end up right back where you started. You feel what I'm saying? But like, I'm telling y'all, like, this is like, I mean, look, like I said, everything I'm telling y'all is in a positive light. But like I said, guys, I'm not going to be afraid to keep it a beam with y'all and let y'all know, like, it's a lot of motherfuckers. I'm talking like HVAC companies. There's a lot of companies out here that's, like I said, losing out on a lot of money because, like I said, like I don't think they got a concept of how customer service works. Customer service don't pertain to a skin color. Doesn't pertain to a gender or a race or an area, guys. Like, this shit doesn't change. Like, the same thing I can do in Philly, I can go in Newtown and have the exact same results. So it's like, that's one thing I don't want y'all to have these fucked up preconceived notions. Like, yeah, I gotta stay at this area. I gotta stay up here. Like, guys, this shit is all the same. Like, the only thing that changes is, like I said, the people. Like that and that. Like I said, not to say people in a bad way, but the only thing that changes is, like I said, today it might be a newly house couple in their 35s, and next week it could be someone in their 60s. But the common denominator is you. Like, you've been there, you've been in both scenarios. So like, that's why you have to take accountability. I think it's an old saying that goes like, no matter where I go, there I am. What that means is, like, you're the only person that's been where you've been through before, and you're the only person that's still here from that scenario. So like, you can't blame someone else of not being there or whatever the case is. No, like, motherfucker, you've been there. Now you got to make your time count. Like, shit, make sure you taking care of business. But like I said, guys, life already held me accountable a couple of times. Like, I'm talking in business. Like, once you realize doing certain things won't produce certain results, then you have to realize, like, shit, you got to change your ways. I don't think it's going to be anybody to, like I said, force that on you, especially if you're an employee. Like I said, you keep fucking around, you're just going to get fired. But and the same thing with business owners, guys. Business owners can get fired too from customers' house. If a lot of customers say no, they don't want the estimate or they don't want the repairs, maybe due to you not explaining things or whatever the case is. Like, if everybody keeps saying no, then like, eventually, guys, you got to point the finger on yourself and realize, like, what can I do to get better? And like I said, it's not going to be a polite situation, guys. Like, that you got to deal with yourself when you're at your worst. Like I told y'all, when I first started off, with that customer that told me that he didn't think we were going to be in business long enough, I knew, like I said, that's when the game started for me. Because I'm like, look, if the expectation is there that they don't think, I can make it through to the other side. Like, I mean, shit, I'm gonna definitely show them. But like, I definitely took that personal. But I took it personal into, being the best I can be. I didn't take it personal into like making it just about that customer. You get what I'm saying? So like, that's why I try my best to preface things in the way y'all understand. It's not just about like negativity and bullshit. Because like, like I said, guys, everybody, I don't care what you do, you have the ability to think negative or be on bullshit. But like I said, it takes more energy up front to be positive. But like, the shit that I'm telling y'all now is going to lead to more beneficial things down the line versus me telling y'all, nah, don't worry, that's just that customer. No, don't worry, it's just that customer. He or she didn't. Nah, eventually, if you keep thinking like that, eventually you're going to treat every customer like everything's their fault. And then now, if you don't have a demand to change yourself, then like, guess what, guys? Like, you're going to be cruising for a bruising. And I'm telling y'all, man, like, I don't want to see none of y'all, especially for you shop owners, if you got your own companies, I don't want to see y'all, like I said, go past the point of no return, like I said, with negative customer experience. And like, I'm telling you, I see this shit every day. And like, I mean, I told the customer, like, back to that story with the customer telling me about, the contractor, like, that, gave her that crazy time frame and never showed up. Like, I told her, like, I don't really feel sorry for anybody because, like, guys, I'm telling you, like, Depends on your experience. Like if you got experience with HVAC, I mean, unless you're an office person, 9 times out of 10, if you have experience in the trade, you should have experience of dealing with crazy scenarios. I'm talking crazy customers. Like I said, it is what it is, guys. I can't change them. You can't advertise to sane people. Everybody is sane. You don't know what the fuck someone's going through. I'm talking to customer. You don't know what the fuck they're going through. That probably make them snap. And guess what? You got to show up in 30 minutes. Guess what you're going to show up to? Like I said, chaos. But by you not taking it personal, you know what? She's not mad at me. She's just mad at the situation. Let me try my best to, like I said, the same thing I did over the phone, guys. Let me de-escalate the situation. Let me separate myself. Let me separate the company from the situation. And I did that by saying, you know what? Maybe it's an easier way in the future for us to do business. I didn't tell her, like I said, to fuck off, but I'd say, you know what? Maybe it's an easier way to do business. What about this? What about that? Nah, then, I mean, at that point, like I said, I tried my best, but I had to wipe my hands of that situation. But guys, keep it respectful and keep it polite. Even if you don't agree with it, and it's going to take some practice. You're not going to get this all in one day. I mean, you still might tell someone to fuck off tomorrow. You still might tell someone to fuck off tomorrow, but eventually you got to work on controlling your impulses, and you can't make make brash decisions based on how you feel, guys. So it's how you feel now, guaranteed in a couple weeks you're not going to feel like that. So I'm telling y'all, that's the difference. I tell y'all, for people that, like I said, lost their freedom due to not controlling their emotional and their mental focus. You letting a 5-second decision mess you up for the next couple of years of your life. I'm not doing that, guys. It is what it is, and that's part of you staying in control of your thinking. If you stay in control of thinking, guess what? You can run across anybody else. You can run across a nutcase, guys. You can run across a customer that, like I say, you may not agree with, but you know how to handle the situation. You're always going to stay in control of it. It takes 2 people, like I said, to have altercation, not 1. Like I said, I'm not saying, hopefully it doesn't turn physical or nothing, but I'm saying the verbal shit. I mean, hey, if I know why I'm out there, guys, like I said, I'm on cruise control right now, guys. I'm not out to make matters worse than what it is. But like I said, when I first started off, the game wasn't broken to me like this. It was a bunch of, like I said, things I had to learn that wasn't really beneficial. But like I said, guys, I like cutting through the noise, cutting through the bullshit. This, what I'm telling y'all has nothing to do with your ability to fix things, has nothing to do with money. This is all customer experience, guys. So if you're just watching this, like I said, watch this video from the beginning to the end. And like I said, I don't care what you guys do. If you're business owners, if you're employees, maintenance techs, service techs, sales techs, installers, whatever the case is, make sure, like I said, you guys are working on your customer service, because I'm telling y'all, with this day and age, you don't know what the fuck you're gonna walk into. You could walk into a crazy house, and like I said, I don't want that situation to turn you crazy into thinking that every customer is gonna be like that. No, I'm telling y'all, this is gonna be a lifelong process. It's not just one good customer fixes everything. No, understand, while you're out there, and like I said, guys, try to have fun out there. Don't try to be so hypersensitive of what could happen. And that's something I had to learn too as a service tech. Is once you control your nerves, learning HVAC is totally different than learning customer service, depending on your background. But once you get past that point of, like I said, control your nerves, you know what, man, what can happen will happen. But the fact is, like I said, regardless of what's going to happen, I'm always going to stay in control of how I react, and like I said, my emotions towards it. Even if, like I said, you feel some type of way in the moment, give yourself a couple minutes to just let it breathe, and like I said, de-escalate the situation, and you can live to fight another day, guys. That's it. But guys, my bad for not looking at the comments, but guys, like I said, when I go in, you already know that's how it is. But yeah, guys, I'm about to get up out of here. But yeah, guys, dealing with angry customers, just to encapsulate all this, dealing with angry customers, it's really, I ain't gonna say everything is easy. Everything is relative, easy for me may be difficult to someone else, or vice versa. So dealing with customers, or dealing with angry customers, are easier than what it used to be. Like I said, I've been in the trade now, since 2013. It's been 13 years now. Damn, guys, I'm getting up there in experience, man. This shit doesn't even feel like work. When did I jump off the porch? Got out of trade school 2012, and I got that first job in 2013. Damn, guys, it's been 13 years already. Isn't that crazy? 2013. Damn. Guys, like I said, I'm about to retire in a couple years, guys. I'm getting old, man. I lost a couple weight. I lost a couple pounds, man. I got to take my ass near the water somewhere. I might start doing I might start fixing mini split units in the Dominican Republic, guys. I might start selling portable AC units. So that's gonna be my next profession. But guys, damn, it's been 13 years already, guys. This shit is crazy, man. I'm telling y'all. But guys, I'm gonna leave y'all on this, man. Like I said, once you're having fun, man, time goes fast. And like I said, guys, I survived a bunch of crazy shit. Everything now I can laugh about. You know, I told y'all this before. The things that used to terrify me, I laugh about now, guys. Like, I survived so much shit. But like I said, you know, half of y'all probably not gonna understand what I'm saying. But like I said, in the future, I got a feeling somebody gonna watch all these videos and they gonna know, like I said, what the real deal is. So guys, like I said, be on the lookout for new content coming out soon. And remember, like I said, something's going on with my remix button, but like I said, I'll get that squared away. But in the meantime, like I said, whatever shorts, and guys, I got a bunch of like unreleased shorts. I gotta edit them. Like, guys, I do all that shit when I have time. Like, if I had, like I said, time, I'll put together like 80 shorts a day. Like, and that's one thing about me, guys. The content here never ends. So like, that's one thing one of you guys, like say, one of you guys mentioned that a while back, man, about the content. Like, the content here never ends. So it's like, there's always gonna be something different to learn. Like I said, if you guys, like I said, if you're getting into trade school, if you're a new guy, like I said, all the shit, everything I'm telling you is eventually something you're gonna see. Or if you got experience, you know, it's gonna be a refresher, or you know, something you dealt with before. But with that being said, guys, it's been almost an hour. I gotta get the fuck up out of here. Let me look at the comments, guys. Darling Torres, what's going on, man? I saw that people pay more to move up. That was on TikTok. A Tower Hiller, who are you talking about? Hey, Prison, you gotta change your username, man. Did somebody pick your username for you? I don't know what you on, homeboy. But yeah, guys, I'm about to get up out of here. Keep rocking and rolling. I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.